Welcome back, Rare Coin Insider. Imagine holding a tiny coin in your hand. Something so small that most people would overlook it as just another penny. Yet within this little piece of metal lies a story so big that it has captured the attention of collectors all around the world. We're talking about the 1988 1-cent coin, a coin that many consider ordinary, but in reality, it could be worth an incredible fortune if you find the right variety. A coin that most people would spend without a second thought might actually be a hidden treasure capable of changing your life. In this video, we will take you on a journey to explore the 1988 1-cent coin, its design, weight, symbols, history, and the secrets that make some examples worth millions of dollars in today's market. Let's start with the basics. The 1988 penny measures 19 millimeters in diameter and weighs just 2.5 grams. It looks simple, but its composition is fascinating. This coin is made of a zinc core with a thin layer of copper plating, only about 2.5% copper. Before 1982, U.S. pennies were mostly made of bronze, which was copper-based, but when the price of copper increased, the U.S. Mint decided to switch to a cheaper formula. From 1982 onward, pennies were struck with a zinc center coated in copper, and the 1988 penny is one of these post-1982 issues. On the obverse, the front side, of the coin, you'll see the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln. This design was created by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to honor Lincoln's 100th birthday. It became the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure, and it has been in use ever since, making the Lincoln cent one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. Across the top of the coin, you'll see the words, "In God We Trust." On the left side is the word, "Liberty," and on the right side is the date, 1988. Depending on where the coin was minted, you may notice a mint mark just below the date. If there is no mint mark, it was struck in Philadelphia. If you see a D, that means it came from the Denver Mint. If there's an S, it was minted in San Francisco, usually as a proof coin. Now flip the coin over to the reverse side, and you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 by Frank Gasparo to mark the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. At first glance, it looks like a simple image of the memorial, but take a closer look with a magnifying glass and you'll notice something fascinating. Inside the memorial, you can actually see a tiny statue of Abraham Lincoln sitting in the center. That means this coin features Lincoln's portrait on the front and Lincoln's statue on the back, a double tribute to one of America's most famous presidents. Below the memorial, you'll see the initials, FG, which stand for Frank Gasparo, the designer of this reverse. Historically, the 1988 penny was just another year in the long run of Lincoln cents. Billions were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, while San Francisco produced a few million proof versions for collectors. To most people, these coins were nothing more than spare change in their pockets. But here's the interesting part. Whenever billions of coins are produced, mistakes are bound to happen. Those mistakes, known as mint errors or varieties, are what transform a common coin into something incredibly rare and valuable. And in the case of the 1988 penny, a handful of such errors have made certain examples worth small fortunes today. Now that we've covered the basic design and history of the 1988 penny, let's move into the really exciting part, the rare varieties and mint errors that can transform a simple 1-cent coin into something worth thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is where the story of the 1988 penny becomes truly fascinating. First, let's talk about one of the most famous and valuable varieties of the 1988 penny, known as the wide AM variety. Normally, on a 1988 penny, the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse side are spaced very closely together. But in this rare error, the A and the M are spread apart with a wide gap between them. This happened because a reverse die intended for proof coins was accidentally used to strike some business strike pennies. Collectors call this the 1988 White AM, and it is one of the most desirable modern Lincoln set errors. While an ordinary 1988 penny might be worth only 1 cent, the wide AM variety can be worth anywhere from $600 to over $1,000 depending on its condition. Some examples in the highest mint state grades have even crossed into several $1,000s at auction. Next up is the famous Flared G variety. On the reverse of the coin, just to the right of the Lincoln Memorial, you'll see the initials FG, which stand for Frank Gasparo, the designer. On some rare 1988 pennies, the G in those initials appears unusually flared or curved, making it stand out as a unique variety. Just like the White AM, this error happened when a mismatched die was used. Collectors go crazy for this coin, and high-grade examples can bring in $1,500 or more. It's a tiny detail that most people would never notice, but in the world of numismatics, that tiny detail is worth real money. Another error that collectors search for is the double ear or double die variety. On these pennies, if you look closely at Lincoln's ear on the obverse side, you'll see what looks like a second, faint ear just beneath or behind the first. This doubling occurred when the coin die was improperly manufactured, and it creates a ghost-like image of Lincoln's earlobe. Depending on condition, a 1988 double-ear penny can be worth between $100 and $250, and sometimes even more if it is certified at a high grade by a major grading company like PCGS or NGC. Then, there are repunched mint marks, often called RPMs. These errors happen when the mint mark was punched more than once, slightly misaligned each time. For example, on some 1988 D pennies, the D looks like it has a shadow or doubling effect because of this repunching. Such errors are not as dramatic as a wide AM or double ear, but they are still collectible and can bring $30 to $60 in the right condition. And beyond these well-documented varieties, there are also striking errors, off-center strikes, and clipped planchets that can make a 1988 penny unique. Imagine finding a penny where half of the design is missing because the planchet wasn't properly aligned under the die, or a penny that looks like a crescent moon because a piece of the metal was clipped off before striking. These types of dramatic mint errors can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on how unusual and eye-catching the mistake is. One of the most impressive auction results for a 1988 penny came when a rare Flared G variety in mint state condition sold for nearly $2,000. That's right, $2,000 for a coin that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the sidewalk. That's the magic of numismatics. Rarity and condition combine to create extraordinary value. So, why do these errors and varieties command such high prices? It all comes down to supply and demand. Remember, over 11 billion pennies were minted in 1988 across Philadelphia and Denver. With so many coins out there, almost all of them are completely ordinary. But a tiny handful have these special features, and because collectors always want to own something rare and unusual, the demand for those coins skyrockets, while the supply remains almost non-existent. That's the recipe for big money in the coin collecting world. Now that we've explored the rare varieties and errors of the 1988 penny, let's talk about the part that everyone is most curious about: the actual market value. How much can these coins really sell for today? And why are some stories claiming that a single penny could be worth millions of dollars? Let's start with the ordinary coins. A regular 1988 penny that has been in circulation, the kind you'd find in your change jar, is generally worth just 1 cent. If it's in uncirculated condition, meaning it has never been used and still has its original luster, it might be worth anywhere between $1 and $5 to a collector who wants a perfect example for their collection. In higher mint state grades, such as MS-66 or MS-67, these coins can bring in $100 to $600, because finding a perfectly preserved coin from over 30 years ago is not easy. Still, for the most part, common 1988 pennies don't go beyond this price range. But when we move into the era varieties, that's when the real money comes into play. The famous 1988 wide AM variety, which we talked about earlier, can easily fetch $600 to $1,000 in mint state condition. If you're lucky enough to find one in near perfect condition, with little to no flaws, it can sell for several $1,000s at major auctions. Collectors recognize how rare this variety is, and they are willing to pay a premium to own it. The Flair G variety has also reached impressive prices. Some examples graded by PCGS or NGC have sold for over $1,500, and auction houses have reported sales around $2,000 for the finest known specimens. The double ear variety, though not as expensive, still reaches $100 to $250 depending on grade, and it's a variety that many collectors actively search for. Even repunched mint marks, which seem minor to the untrained eye, can bring in $50 or more when authenticated. And then we get into the dramatic errors, the coins that were struck off center, struck on the wrong type of planchet, or clipped. These kinds of errors can sell for hundreds, and in rare cases, thousands of dollars. The more dramatic the error, the higher the value, because collectors love coins that look visually unusual and unique. Imagine showing off a penny where half the design is missing. That kind of error is instantly desirable. Now, what about the wild claims you sometimes hear online, that a 1988 penny could be worth $267 million? That sounds unbelievable, right? The truth is, number 1988 penny has ever sold for anywhere near that amount. In fact, the highest confirmed sales are in the thousands, not millions. So where do these giant numbers come from? Often, they are based on rumors, exaggerations, or misunderstandings spread through social media. Someone might list a penny on eBay for a ridiculous price, hundreds of millions of dollars, just to get attention. But listing a coin at that price doesn't mean it actually sells for that much. However, these exaggerated claims do serve one purpose. They capture people's imagination. They make everyday people look into their pocket change, hoping they might have a hidden treasure. And while the reality is that most 1988 pennies are not worth more than a cent, the tiny chance of finding one of these rare errors is what keeps the hunt alive. It's like a lottery ticket. Most are worthless, but a very small number can bring you a life-changing reward. The coin market itself is always changing. Prices can go up when demand increases, especially if collectors suddenly focus on a certain variety. Auction records are often set when two or more determined bidders battle it out for the same coin, pushing the price higher than anyone expected. That's why a coin that might normally sell for $500 could suddenly hammer at $2,000 in the right auction. In this way, the story of the 1988 penny is not just about metal and minting. It's about human psychology, rarity, and desire. Collectors don't just want a coin. They want the story, the rarity, the bragging rights of owning something that almost no one else has. And that's why a tiny 1-cent piece, a coin worth practically nothing in everyday life, can transform into a high-value collectible that makes headlines. Picture this. You're sitting at your desk, counting loose change from your wallet. Among the nickels and dimes, there's a worn copper-colored penny from 1988. You almost toss it aside without a thought, but something makes you pause. Maybe it's the date, maybe it's just curiosity. You turn it over in your hand, look closer, and suddenly notice that the letters on the back don't look quite right. Could it be? Is this just an ordinary cent, or have you stumbled upon a rare treasure that could be worth thousands, maybe even life-changing money? This is exactly how it often begins. Not in a museum or a professional collection, but in the everyday lives of ordinary people. Rare coins aren't always found in glass cases. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight, in your pocket, in a piggy bank, or in the change you get back from the grocery store. That's the magic of coin collecting. You never know when history and luck will intersect right in your hands. Imagine a collector who once found a 1988 wide AM penny in circulation. To the average person, it looked no different than any other cent. But when examined under magnification, the gap between the A and M in America revealed the truth. It was one of the rarest modern varieties. That single coin, which could have been spent on a piece of candy, was suddenly worth hundreds of dollars, maybe even more if graded and sold at auction. Now imagine finding a Flair G variety, where a tiny curve in the designer's initials transforms a common penny into a coin worth over $1,000. Or discovering a double-ear penny, where Lincoln's portrait has that subtle doubling on the ear. The thrill of realizing that what you thought was ordinary is actually extraordinary is something that can't be described. It has to be experienced. And it doesn't stop there. Think about the stories of people who picked up a handful of pennies from their drawer and later learned that one of them was worth more than their entire paycheck. Stories circulate of lucky finds at yard sales, thrift shops, or even pocket change that turned out to be incredibly rare varieties. Some people spend years hunting for these coins, checking every penny they come across, while others stumble upon them completely by accident. This is why the 1988 penny continues to capture so much attention. It's not just a coin, it's a symbol of possibility. It shows us that even the smallest, most overlooked objects can hold secrets of great value. The idea that a simple 1-cent piece could be worth thousands, or in some exaggerated stories even millions, is what fuels the dream. Because what if the next penny you find is the one? So next time you see a 1988 penny, don't ignore it. Look closely. Check the mint mark, examine the details, and pay attention to those small features that might make all the difference. It might just be the coin that turns an ordinary day into an unforgettable story. So what have we learned from this journey into the world of the 1988 penny? On the surface, it's just a 1-cent coin, small, ordinary, and easy to overlook. But when we take the time to look closer, to notice the details, we discover a hidden universe of history, design, rarity, and value. From the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse to the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, every 1988 penny is a tiny piece of American history. And within that massive mintage of billions of coins, a very small number were struck with unusual varieties and errors: the wide AM, the Flair G, the double ear, the repunched mint marks, that elevate them from pocket change into genuine treasures. The market has proven just how valuable these coins can become. A regular 1988 penny may only ever be worth a cent, but the rare varieties have brought in hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars at auctions. Collectors are willing to pay big money for them, not just because of the metal, but because of the story, the rarity, and the desire to own something that almost nobody else has. And while you may hear exaggerated claims of pennies worth hundreds of millions of dollars, the truth is still incredible. These coins, if found in the right condition, can be worth enough to change someone's day, someone's week, maybe even someone's life. The idea that something so small, something we pass by every single day, can carry that kind of hidden value is exactly what makes this hobby so exciting. Now here's the important part. If you want to search for these valuable 1988 pennies, you need to know how to look. Start by checking the date carefully. Make sure it's 1988. Look for the mint mark below the date. No mark means Philadelphia, D means Denver, and S means San Francisco proof. Then, take a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe and examine the details. On the reverse, check the spacing between the A and M in America for the wide AM. Look closely at the FG, initials for the Flair G. Study Lincoln's ear on the obverse for signs of doubling. And never underestimate other errors, like off-center strikes or clipped planchets. Anything unusual can have value. If you think you found something special, the next step is to get it authenticated. Reputable grading companies like PCGS, NGC, or Annex can certify the coin, assign it a grade, and officially recognize it as a rare variety. Once it's certified, its value in the collector's market can rise dramatically because buyers trust certified coins far more than raw, ungraded examples. And finally, if you do discover a rare 1988 penny, the best way to sell it is through trusted auction houses, coin dealers, or online platforms that specialize in numismatics. Always do your research and never rush to sell. You want to make sure you get the full value of what you found. In the end, the 1988 penny is more than just money. It's a reminder. A reminder that history can hide in plain sight, that value can be found where we least expect it, and that sometimes the smallest objects carry the biggest surprises. So, the next time you're about to toss aside a penny, stop and take a closer look. Because who knows? That little coin in your pocket could be worth far more than you ever imagined. As we move forward, one of the biggest questions surrounding the penny is not just about its past, but about its future. For decades, the 1-cent coin has been a part of daily life in the United States, but times are changing. The cost of producing a penny is now more than the coin's actual value. It costs nearly 4 cents for the U.S. Mint to manufacture a single penny that's only worth 1 cent. Multiply that by billions of coins minted every year, and you realize the government loses millions of dollars annually just to keep the penny in circulation. Because of this, serious conversations have been happening about whether or not to eliminate the penny altogether. Many countries, including Canada, have already retired their 1-cent coins, rounding cash transactions up or down to the nearest 5 cents. If the U.S. eventually does the same, every penny in existence today will become a piece of history, a relic of a bygone era. And when that happens, collectors will treasure them even more, because no new pennies will ever be produced again. Now think about the 1988 penny in this context. At the moment, it's already more than 30 years old. But once pennies are discontinued, even common examples will start to disappear from circulation, ending up in drawers, jars, or collections. The rare varieties, like the Wide AM or the Flare G, will suddenly become even more valuable because collectors will see them not just as rare errors, but as part of a discontinued coin series. That means the 1988 penny could rise in value over time, especially in high grades or with verified errors. We also need to remember the emotional factor. The penny carries symbolism. It's the coin that children save in piggy banks, the coin that people toss into fountains while making wishes, the coin that reminds people of Abraham Lincoln's legacy. Ending the penny would not only change commerce, but it would also spark nostalgia. And nostalgia is powerful in the collectibles market. When something disappears, people suddenly realize how much it meant to them, and they start collecting what they once ignored. This is why coin collectors and investors are paying close attention to modern Lincoln cents. They understand that once the production of the penny stops, demand will spike, and prices could soar. For the 1988 penny, especially those rare varieties, this could mean future values that are much higher than what we see today. Maybe not hundreds of millions of dollars, as some exaggerated stories claim, but certainly amounts significant enough to make collectors excited. So, when you look at a 1988 penny today, you're not just looking at a coin from the past. You're holding a piece of the future. A coin that may soon represent an era that has ended, a coin that carries both historical importance and potential investment value. Whether you're a serious collector or just someone curious about the change in your pocket, understanding this future potential makes every 1988 penny worth a second look. Now, let me ask you a simple question. How many times have you ignored a penny lying on the ground? or tossed loose change into a drawer without even looking at it? For most of us, the answer is countless times. But imagine if just once, you picked up that penny and it turned out to be something extraordinary. Imagine realizing that the smallest coin, the coin we often treat as worthless, could hold the key to a fortune. That's not just a possibility, it's a reality for the people who have discovered rare 1988 pennies. The truth is, opportunities are all around us. The difference between those who find them and those who miss them is awareness. If you take the time to look, if you take the effort to pay attention, you open doors that others never even see. And the 1988 penny is a perfect symbol of that truth. Most people overlook it, but collectors who know what to look for see the hidden treasure that others miss. So, if you want to start this journey, begin small. Take a jar of coins from your home, sit down with a magnifying glass, and start examining. Look at the dates, check the mint marks, study the details. It may seem simple, but that small habit of paying attention can change everything. Today it's a penny. Tomorrow it might be a rare coin worth hundreds, thousands, or even more. But beyond the money, there's something deeper here. Collecting coins isn't just about profit, it's about connection. Each coin is a piece of history, a snapshot of the time it was made, a link to the people and events of the past. Holding a 1988 penny connects you to the late 1980s, to the workers at the mint who struck it, to the millions of Americans who used it in their daily lives. It's a reminder that history isn't just in museums, it's in our pockets, in our homes, in the smallest objects we carry every day. And if you really want to think big, remember this: success often comes from places no one else bothers to look. The people who get ahead are the ones who search for value where others see nothing. That's the lesson of the 1988 penny. Don't dismiss the small things. Don't ignore the details. Because sometimes, the smallest things hold the biggest surprises. So, the next time you see a penny, don't just walk past it. Pick it up. Look at it. Study it. Because who knows? That 1 cent could be worth more than you ever imagined. And even if it's not, you'll have gained something even more valuable: the awareness that treasure is always around us, waiting for those who are willing to see it. Picture this for a moment. A man is cleaning out his garage one weekend. He finds an old jar of coins that had been sitting untouched for years, maybe even decades. Most people would just take that jar, pour it into a coin-counting machine, and cash it out without a second thought. But this man, instead of rushing, decides to take a closer look. He sits down, pours the coins onto a table, and begins to sort through them. At first, it feels boring. Pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, just the usual pocket change. But then, he notices something. A penny with the date 1988 catches his eye. He doesn't know why at first, but something tells him to hold on to it. Later, he pulls out a magnifying glass and starts examining it more closely. And then, the discovery happens. The A and M in America on the reverse side of the coin are spaced apart. It's the rare white AM variety. His heart starts racing. Could this ordinary-looking penny actually be valuable? He does some research online, compares it to reference images, and realizes he might really have something special. To be sure, he sends it off to a grading service. A few weeks later, the coin comes back certified, officially recognized as a 1988 white AM in excellent condition. Suddenly, what once seemed like a worthless 1-cent coin now carries a market value of thousands of dollars. Think about that. A coin that most people would have tossed into a machine, traded for a single cent, is now a collector's treasure worth real money. For this man, it wasn't just about the financial gain, it was the thrill of discovery, the excitement of realizing he had found something hidden in plain sight. Now, imagine that story being yours. Imagine you're the one who finds a rare 1988 penny tucked away in an old wallet, or buried in the bottom of a coin jar. Imagine showing it to friends or family and telling them it's not just a penny, it's a rare collectible with serious value. That kind of story doesn't just belong to someone else. It could belong to you. And the best part? There's no barrier to entry. You don't need a fortune to get started. All you need is curiosity, patience, and the willingness to pay attention to the smallest details. Every penny you pick up, every coin you check, is another chance to uncover a hidden treasure. This is why people fall in love with coin collecting. It's not just about numbers or dates. It's about the possibility that any ordinary day can turn into an extraordinary one with just a single discovery. The 1988 penny proves that even the smallest coin can hold the biggest surprises. When we think about coins, most of us focus only on the country where they were minted. But the reality is that coins, especially those connected to famous figures like Abraham Lincoln, have a global audience. The Lincoln cent is not just a U.S. coin, it is recognized and collected all over the world. From Europe to Asia, from Africa to the Middle East, collectors and historians are fascinated by the legacy of America's smallest coin, and the 1988 penny plays an important role in this story. In Europe, coin collectors have always had a deep respect for U.S. currency, not just because of its stability, but also because of its history. Auction houses in London, Berlin, and Paris regularly include American coins in their sales, and pennies, especially error coins like the 1988 White AM, often generate excitement far beyond their face value. European collectors see them as a bridge between American culture and global history, and because the Lincoln cent is tied to such a legendary figure, demand stays strong. Meanwhile, in Asia, the interest in American coins has exploded over the past 2 decades. Countries like China, Japan, and India now have massive communities of numismatists who actively search for rare U.S. coins. The 1988 penny, particularly rare varieties, has appeared in international coin shows and has been traded in online marketplaces that reach buyers across borders. For many collectors in Asia, owning a piece of American history is a status symbol, a way of feeling connected to the world's most influential economy. Museums also play a key role. Institutions dedicated to numismatics, such as the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., or the British Museum in London, highlight the importance of small coins in shaping big history. The penny is often used in educational programs to show how currency reflects politics, technology, and culture. And as museums continue to emphasize these connections, coins like the 1988 penny gain recognition as cultural artifacts, not just monetary objects. Now let's talk about the international auction market. In recent years, rare pennies, including error coins, have sold for record-breaking amounts. Collectors in different countries are willing to pay premium prices for unique examples, and thanks to the internet, these auctions are no longer limited to just one country. A rare 1988 penny discovered in America could easily be sold to a bidder in Germany, Japan, or even the Middle East, with the transaction happening instantly online. This has opened up the market, driving up competition, and of course, driving up prices. This global perspective is important for one reason. It shows that the value of the 1988 penny is not limited to the United States. Its worth is magnified by international demand, by the cultural respect Abraham Lincoln commands worldwide, and by the global fascination with rare coins. This means the 1988 penny is not just a small piece of copper-plated zinc, it's a global collectible, with value stretching far beyond American borders. For you, as a collector or someone curious about coins, this is powerful knowledge. It means that the penny in your hand, if it turns out to be a rare variety, could appeal not just to local buyers, but to collectors across the entire world. It could end up in an international museum, in the hands of a wealthy collector overseas, or at the center of a record-breaking auction watched by thousands. That's the kind of potential the 1988 penny holds when viewed from a global perspective. If you've made it this far in the video, you might be wondering how you can actually find one of these rare 1988 pennies for yourself. The truth is, it's easier than you think, but it requires patience, a careful eye, and the right method. So let's break it down step by step. Step 1. Gather your coins. Look around your home. Check old jars, drawers, wallets, piggy banks, or any place where spare change might be hiding. You'd be surprised how many forgotten pennies are sitting around untouched for years. Even better, ask friends and family if they have old coin jars they don't use. You might just discover something special in someone else's collection of change. Step 2. Separate the pennies by year. This may take time, but it's worth it. Make a small pile just for 1988 pennies. Remember, not every 1988 penny is rare, but every rare penny starts with that date, so your first goal is to isolate them. Step 3. Inspect the coin carefully. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe if you have one. Focus on the reverse side of the coin where it says, United States of America. Pay close attention to the letters A and M in America. If they appear unusually wide apart instead of touching or nearly touching, you may have the famous wide AM variety. Step 4. Look at the condition. A coin's grade plays a massive role in its value. A 1988 wide AM in worn condition might be worth some money, but one in mint or near mint condition could be worth hundreds, even thousands. Look for sharp details, no major scratches, and good overall shine. Step 5. Confirm with resources. Don't just rely on your eyes alone. Compare your coin to trusted reference photos online from coin collecting websites or databases. If you're still not sure, take your coin to a local coin dealer, coin show, or submit it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can officially certify the coin, which adds to its value and trustworthiness when selling. Step 6. Decide what to do with it. If you're a collector, you may want to hold on to it as part of your growing collection. If you're in it for profit, consider selling it through an auction, an online marketplace, or directly to collectors. With demand for rare pennies growing worldwide, your coin could attract serious buyers. And finally, the most important step, keep searching. The first coin you check might not be rare, and neither might the second or the third. But persistence is the secret. Remember, the people who discover treasures are the ones who never stop looking. Now, let's bring everything together with a final thought. The story of the 1988 penny is more than just about money. It's about discovery. It's about realizing that even the smallest, most ordinary things can hold extraordinary value if you know how to look at them. Think about it. 1 cent, something most people walk past on the street without a second glance, has the power to be worth thousands, or even millions, in the right circumstances. That's not just a coin story. That's a life lesson. It reminds us that value often hides in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to see it. Opportunities are everywhere, whether it's in coins, in work, or in life itself. The difference between success and missed chances is awareness. If you train yourself to notice the details, to pay attention, to search where others don't, you'll find treasures, sometimes in coins, sometimes in life, and sometimes in yourself. So the next time you see a penny, don't dismiss it. Pick it up, study it, appreciate it. Who knows? That small coin could change your life, just like it has changed the lives of collectors around the world. And even if it doesn't, you'll have gained the most valuable treasure of all, the mindset that nothing is too small to matter. Remember, every great discovery begins with curiosity, and every fortune begins with one small step. For some, that step is a single penny from 1988. Maybe today, it could be yours.